Hello, everyone. I am Remi.
I'm Lucas.
And I'm Casey.
This is day one of the Day Ones Discourse. Thanks for tuning in today to our first episode.
Yeah. Today, for you listeners out there, we're going to be talking a little introduction about each of us and kind of why we wanted to start this podcast. And then hopefully we'll get into some other topics and tangents that come along with it. So just kind of repeating what Remi said. Big shout out to all you guys who decided to tune in. So, alrighty, let's get into it. So Remi, do you want to start us off, my man?
Sure. My name is Remington Cleveland. It's kind of a mouthful, and a lot of people always ask me, is Remington your first name or your last name? I can assure you it is, in fact, my first name. I'm a medical biology student at Boise State University in Idaho, and I'm doing it because I love medicine. So I really enjoyed everything medicine and everything space. So if we're going to be talking about medicine or space, you'll be sure to hear my voice quite a bit often.
Yeah, Remi's our go-to guy on anything like astrology or astronomy. No, not astrology, astronomy. Let's make that perfectly clear.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be talking much about astrology here, but astronomy will be definitely the subject I'll be speaking a lot on. Yeah. All right, Lucas, why don't you just tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay, so my name is Lucas DeBillius. I'm a mechanical engineering student with a minor in applied mathematics and business administration at the University of Idaho. I'm also the current president of Theta Chi Epsilon Kappa chapter on the Greek row up at University of Idaho. Some of my interests, besides obviously my subject of study, would be tennis, anything outdoors like pertaining to dirt biking or sailing or trying to surf behind our turbo jet skis on a surfboard. Yeah, so kind of anything along those lines. Casey, I'm anxious to hear what you have to say, my man.
Oh boy. Well, I'm Casey Bryant, probably the most boring person in the group, but I've been friends with these two. I've been friends with Remi for 6 years now. We met freshman year of high school, and I've been friends with Lucas since 6th grade, so about 10 years. And
unfortunately.
Exactly. And yeah, about me, I don't know. My interests are pretty much in line with both of these two. Like Lucas and Remi, I'm really into tennis. I really like to do stuff outside. Stay active. Honestly, that's about it.
Yeah. Do you want to tell them about your course of study? Where you go to school?
Oh yeah. I'm an accounting major at Boise State University. Hoping to graduate in a little bit and be on my way to getting my CPA and stuff like that.
He has big dreams. The rest of us have no idea what we want to do, so it's kind of funny the way we see it.
Yeah. Doors are always open, my guys. So, alrighty. I think we've introduced ourselves pretty well. So, you want to get into kind of why we started this?
Yeah. So, we were hanging out at Cascade, which is a lake in Idaho, and we were just discussing fun and interesting questions that came up to us. And we noticed how far in with them we got and how in depth we got, and it was kind of ridiculous. We were sitting there for 3.5 hours talking about what we would do with $1 trillion. And so one day we were like, since we can talk so long about these cool and interesting topics, why not just record them and put them online and see if anyone else finds them interesting? So I think that's the reason that really brought me in, is I think it's fun to chat about interesting ideas and questions that we can talk about for a while.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing that I really like to talk about is just the posing of hypothetical. What if that? And I feel like our best conversations come from that kind of stuff. Whether it's sitting in Lucas's basement just talking, or gaming for hours,
or at 10 o'clock while we're listening to really crappy music outside Fast Eddie's drinking ices. So yeah, exactly. I feel you.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that basically at least inspired me to want to do this. It's just fun to sit around and talk with you guys. So
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm gonna respectfully disagree with Casey here. I don't know why that just kind of caught my attention. It sounded like we were walking out on like those Socratic seminars that you do in high school, like English class. You guys remember those? Yeah. You walk in and then someone's, says something that you just completely disagree with as far as like the book is concerned. And then you just walk in preparing to just wail on them by slapping down a good old I respectfully disagree card. But yeah, no, I was drawn in for very similar reasons why they were. I think honestly it's just because I found myself so many times, especially like during this summer, where it would be like 2 a.m. and I'd be like, okay, I need to like start heading home. My parents are gonna worry where I'm at, and then it'd be 2 more hours before I actually even walked outside of like Remi's house or some other random place we were hanging out. So yeah, I definitely feel it, but.
Yeah, I also think it's really cool of an idea just to have this so we could look back in 10 years, 15 years to see who we were as people and what we thought and what we believed and, see how far we've changed. So I think even then it's just more of a way of keeping tabs on ourselves and seeing how we progress as people through, college and into the real world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's going to be really weird looking at this stuff, maybe like even a year from now, just coming back and being like, oh my God, like this is what we were like.
Especially with our first podcast, because we're probably going to look back on this and just be like, oh my gosh, what were they thinking? Yeah. Like, yeah, so.
To give you an idea, we're sitting on the floor in my office and kind of just, with a microphone passing between the three of us, So it'd be funny to see like in a year if we're much further ahead, if we're still in the same spot and that was where we are now recording the first podcast versus the 100th. So.
And also, just quick word, we apologize for any issues with the audio since Lucas is passing the mic around quite often. So we'll see how it goes for the rest of the episode, but...
Yeah, I mean, at least for the future episodes, we're getting mics and everything all set up, and when I head off to college, I'll be kind of situating myself up there as well, so then hopefully audio quality should improve ever so slightly, so yeah. But I definitely agree. I think looking in a year, hopefully we're not going to be sitting on your basement or your like office floor, I think it'd be really cool if, we're sitting around in our like private recording studio, like shouting out all of our sponsor names.
It's all up to you guys. Please promote us. We need this.
Yeah, this is helping pay for my college. So big shout out to all you listeners out there. We're hoping to get a sponsorship soon. Hopefully more than 5 listeners per week. That'd be sweet, but.
Honestly, I'll be glad with 1 listener a week, all right?
It's just going to be Remi's girlfriend. So.
Maybe my mom and dad will get in on this. So we got 3 there.
There you go. My parents aren't going to want to see this. They're like, I have better stuff to do.
Yeah, so a few ideas that we're having for our podcast is so the trillionaire question, which we know we got into like a 3.5 hour discussion over. Obviously our podcasts aren't going to be 3.5 hours long, but we're going to try to limit them to about 20 minutes or a little bit less than 20 minutes. But I think that question there is going to be a really cool question just to pose and talk about and get into the hypotheticals, because $1 trillion isn't really something you would see in today or really in the economy ever. And so I think a question like that, or even just what Case was saying, hypotheticals, like what if one day you woke up speaking a different language, how would you adjust to life like that and you didn't know English? So it'd be kind of interesting to see what questions we come up with, or even if people have ideas of questions they want us to talk about, they can just send that in to us and we can see what we can do.
Yeah, and I think it goes along to show, like, to give you guys kind of like a perspective of when we talk about, for instance, like the $1 trillion question. That was just a big starting point for us of just like, it was one of the first days that we actually like talked about, starting a podcast or anything along those lines. But when we talk about, $1 trillion in the perspective of what we would each individually do with it, it's not, we're going to go buy a bunch of Lamborghinis, or we're going to go buy a bunch of houses. Like, obviously everyone's going to come up with that, but no, we were looking at, okay, what size legal team are we going to need in order to be able to keep track of all the money and all the different accounts that we're going to be like funneling money towards? Because obviously if you wake up with $1 trillion into your mattress one day, you're not just going to be able to, you know, invest all that into the stock market or into like banks alone. Like, you're gonna need someone to be managing your money. So then you're talking about investment teams and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, we'll get much further into it eventually, but yeah, that just kind of goes to show like how our minds kind of function on these hypothetical questions. So
yeah, and if you're waking up with $1 trillion in your mattress, you probably want someone to figure out how you got there and why your mattress is so large.
All right. So we didn't have a main topic planned out for this podcast, just mainly an introduction. But we did find some fun facts that we do kind of want to talk about, just some interesting things that we came across. And I think the first one, where's the first one at? Oh yeah, so Lucas came across this one. It's Brazil prisoners are reading books to shorten their sentences. I don't know how to feel about that. That's pretty wild.
Well, you could definitely make the joke about how reading books definitely helps you finish sentences, but, you know, it's funny to see that Brazil has this program that, you know,
coming clutch with the puns again. My God,
criminals, you know, they can shorten their terms with reading books. And so, you know, it makes you think, you know, how many times can you read Green Eggs and Ham before you get really bored with it?
Yeah. You've got some prisoner who's on his 10,000th reading of the Green Eggs and Ham. Guys, I'm a month out. I've read Green Eggs and Ham every day, 9 hours a day. I am so close to being out of here, you know.
Yeah, you shorten your 60-year sentence to 3 months when there's short span of about 6 months. And you're like, you know, guys, yeah, you can take a lesson from me here.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel it.
This is actually really interesting. So it says they can read up to 12 works of literature, philosophy, science, or classics to take a maximum of 48 days off their sentence each year. So that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Like that, like if you're reading every single, say you got like a 5-year sentence.
Yeah, that's around 50 days, which is, you know, 1/7 of a year.
Yeah,
approximately,
yeah.
So.
And so if you got, what would be a 5-year sentence? I've never been to jail, so I have no idea. But that can add up. You could trim off a whole year of your sentence. But
yeah, if you've got a 7-year sentence, that's going to trim off a year alone right there. Yeah. I actually really like it. Like, not to get like into politics necessarily or anything, but I do like it when countries do stuff like this where they're actually trying to promote like good things for their prisoners, like ways that they can, you know, take, say, like art classes, business classes, anything along something that they're interested in. So they're not just wasting all their time there, but they're actually getting to reflect and then like learn how to be more productive citizens once they get out, like, of prison itself. So
right, and you build a culture of, you know, enlightenment and refinement when you take care of your least served population. And in most countries, their least served population is the prisoners. And, you know, usually people do something to deserve going there, but that doesn't mean they're any less human. So I think when countries do something like this, it's kind of interesting to see that there's countries that would serve their lowest served population, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty cool. And like reading more into this, like, we found an article that actually like related to this exact fact alone, that they were actually referencing on like my fact site that I was reading on. But it even talked about how like they'll have up to 4 weeks to read each of the books that they desire to read, and they have to like write an essay that uses like correct paragraphs, correct like punctuation, sentence structure, and then like margins, legible writing, all that kind of stuff. And then they actually call it redemption through reading, which I don't know. It's a really cool idea, not gonna lie. Like it's pretty impressive to think about that other countries are actually like doing something along those lines. I'd be interested to see if like how it'd be if you actually implemented that like in the United States.
Oh no, yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. Like I don't know if people would receive it the same way if they did it here. Like I feel like that would cause a lot of problems, and like people would get upset because people would be like, no, these people don't deserve to like get out earlier for what they did or whatever. Yeah. I feel like at least in America, like it could cause some serious problems.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in America, I think the issue with our prison system, or what people think our prison system is, they think it's for punishment, and punish a person for doing a crime. And yeah, that's part of the reason they're there, but isn't it mostly just for rehab to get them, more in tune into our society and get them, better from where they were? Because there's something intrinsically wrong with someone that does something wrong like that. So, I think it should be more about rehab rather than a punishment. So.
That's fair. Alrighty. We're going to be getting into our next fact now. Alrighty. Actually, I think we are just looking at the time, approaching kind of our designated time mark. So I think it's best now to move into our next segment. Which we're going to try and end all of our segments with 3 song recommendations, one from each of us. The song that we're listening to that week, or a song that's been pretty influential to us in the past couple days. So why don't we start it off with Casey?
Just first off, disclaimer. We all have pretty similar music tastes, and they might not be suited for you, but we do love these songs, and all the recommendations that we give are definitely from the heart. And if you don't like it, that's fine. I'm sure there's a song out there for you, but these are just our personal favorites. So, yeah. So mine for this week was "Stuck in Gravity" of Monsters and Men. It's a part of their new album, Fever Dream, and I cannot stop listening to this song. Literally, it's so good. And then the last minute of the song is just amps it up even more, and it makes me feel so good when I'm listening to it, like windows down, like dusk, just driving home, whatever it may be. It's a great song. Yeah,
no, for sure. And we actually all were talking about how we were gonna recommend that song at first, but my recommendation is gonna be for "Girl from the Sidewalk." It's written, produced, and performed by Noah Floersch, who's an aspiring artist. I believe he goes to University of Nebraska Lincoln, so please check him out because I really like his music.
So the song that I'm going to be recommending for you guys is a song that I first heard freshman year of college, and it really got me through my first year. It's called "Young Blood" by Noah Kahan. And it was just honestly a really great song that gave me a little nostalgia from high school and made me think about my friends I was missing. And it actually strengthened my bond with my best friends. And it gave me the drive to keep in contact with them, which brought us where we are today. So you can check out that song. He's a relatively small artist, pretty big now compared to where he used to be, but really good song.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think that kind of finishes up our podcast. So we want to say a huge thank you to all of our listeners who've kept along track with us this whole episode. And we're looking forward to producing more episodes in the future. So please be on the lookout.
And a quick just plug for our social media. If you want to find us on Facebook or Instagram, it's just the Day Ones Discourse. And on Twitter, it's at the Day Ones Disc. So feel free to go on there, give us a follow, leave us a message if you want to recommend anything to talk about. We'll be sure to look at it. And yeah, that's pretty much that.
Yeah. So. Good idea, Casey. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I think that's just about it.
Thank you, guys. You have a good night.
Yeah, thanks.
Adios.